Friday.
It's,
I think every episode begins with me telling everybody what day it is, because it is Friday. Friday, September 10th.
every time you do it, you say it's Friday.
It's Friday, and it's the first one. It's important news. We're breaking news here. It is Friday. It is 3 p.m. Central Time. That means it's time for another Labs Advisors Live. I, of course, am your host here, Evan Ransom, Nashville, Tennessee, and owner of Every Tech Ninja. Then we got Joe McHugh, my wonderful, wonderful co-host. Joe, where are you from? What it is and what it do?
I am Joe McHugh. I'm on the East Coast. It is Thursday here, I think. I think that's how that works.
I think you're ahead of me, actually. So it's Saturday where you are.
Saturday? Yeah. Okay, it's Saturday. Got
it. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And today we got a special guest with us today, and I'm very excited, Mr. Jack Crutchfield Jr. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Good afternoon, everybody, wherever you are. Good morning, wherever you are. Thank you for joining us. Pleasure to be here.
Yeah, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I really do appreciate you coming in. And I know we got some fun things today. We actually haven't. I don't think we've covered this particular topic so far in Labs Advisors Live. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong there, but I'm pretty sure we haven't touched on this. But Jack, tell us a little bit about what we're going over today.
Sure. So what we're going over today is a little tips and tricks within DocuSign that helps everyone move through the simulation process as fast as possible, very user-friendly. I know it's a couple other steps than maybe your other document manager. However, we just want to go over some tidbits and tips and tricks inside of your rooms, as well as just making sure that your folders are more organized.
Well, I'm always looking for more things to speed up my DocuSign process. This is awesome. Jack, go ahead and let's take it away. Let's get right into it.
All right, awesome. So right down, I am on my dashboard. So I'm going to pick an example room that I usually use at 1234 Main Street. So we go from the dashboard inside of a room. And usually the very first thing we hop into when you're in DocuSign this way, we'll hop into the details area. So the biggest thing that I want to bring up, excuse me, we also do this inside of the documents area, is we want to get a little more organized, okay? So I know a lot of us have already understand that when we are in our details area, we fill out everything here, and this automatically populates onto our form. So that's half of our leverage, of course, half in details, and then the other half is with your DocuSign templates. Now, just simple. This is going to be a very interesting flow of things. What we talk about today here is just organization. Now, just looking at this details listing area, as you're scrolling through, I have to go through and look at the information, and everything is here for my client and listing agent information on the right, closing details, additional information, and more in the middle. Now, it is a lot, I know, for some people to just keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, looking for this information as they're editing it or just viewing it. Here's a beautiful thing that you can do if you did not know. You can always just click the caret or the little arrow right here to each side and just cascade the menu, just close it. So you don't have to keep scrolling over and over and over again. Now, as you edit your information, then you can only focus on that section at a time. Same principle and same energy for the right-hand side for your listing information, your buyer's information, and more. So now we just literally cascaded the entire details room. Everything is clear, clean, and precise on one page. So now if you're looking at seller 1 and 2, buyer 1 and 2, then now you can just click edit and focus on that section by itself. Same thing.
Okay, so you're just closing everything down first and then open up just what you need to see.
Exactly. Just closing everything down and open up what we need to see as you move along. Because you'd be surprised, a lot of agents aren't really aware of that. They just go ahead and put the information in because, of course, they want to get everything right. Just speed up the process so that they can go ahead and get ready for closing and get paid, of course. So that's a great, this is a great opportunity just to know and become a little more familiar with our details area.
Now, Jack, are you going through and filling out every detail in here?
So I am not going through every detail or area and actually filling it out, of course, because depending on where you are in your jurisdiction, of course, the information may or may not change or be different. And while we're here, speaking of change, again, remember inside of details, is the information that you put in specifically for that room. That'll be the information that changed from transaction to transaction, as opposed to, of course, inside of your templates, which will be the information that does not change, like your brokerage information and your information and more.
And last question for you real quick, and I know I'm interrupting here, but last question. What are the fields or details that you find are the most impactful, I should say? Like the ones that you like go to every time you open up a new room, these are the details that you're filling out because they're going to save you the most time. What are those for you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. So it is automatically, first and foremost, is you put the client information. Is, of course, if this is your seller, co-seller, buyer, co-buyer, you put your information in there as well as theirs. Of course, that'll populate. Of course, where you see the required to close for room information and location, you definitely want to put that information in first. So that, of course, because it's required to close. Another thing that you want to add also is, even if you don't have the listing, offer, high bid confirmation, or closing details, any additional information as well as the property details. It's usually the very first line of information you want to put in, of course, as you're sending off your consultation documents, your listing package, and so on and so forth. So you want to start with that.
Right on. Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah.
All right, so now we're going to move on to my favorite area inside of documents. So another thing to keep in mind is just how we can organize our documents inside of a room. So the very first step that we want to take a look at is our actions button that's at the top right here, where we can actually create a folder. So most of our DocuSign sessions that we have in our market center, we usually say it's best practice to create a folder that mimics that specific compliance placeholder inside of your opportunity that will match this folder here. So if you have your complete buyer package, your complete listing package, or your complete contract package, then you can go to actions right here in DocuSign, click add folder, and then you'll give the folder that exact name.
So like consultation or whatever. So you're not doing it for each document. You're doing it for the 3 folders. And we may even want to pull that up just so people can see. You're doing it for the 3 folders that are in opportunities in the document section. So you're making 3 folders in DocuSign to match those 3 folders back in opportunities in the document section.
That is correct.
Gotcha.
Right. Complete contract package. And then we're going to create a yep, that's it for that. And then, of course, you can keep room docs because, of course, as just standard, as you're adding your documents, excuse me, inside of your room, is going to by default move into room docs. So as you go to your DocuSign forms and start adding your different forms here, for example, all right, I'm just going to select these few, add it to my room. Now you see these forms are added by default to the room docs. No problem. Say this is something that you're having for complete contract package, for example. You can always go in to the top right, click select all. And whenever we select all or just an individual document, we'll see our icons options here. If no one's familiar with it, copy, move, email, combine, create envelope, archive, unarchive, delete. In this example, we want to actually move these 5 documents into the complete contract package. So to do so, after we have successfully added our documents, we'll say move. Then it's asking us to please select the destination. We want to say a folder in a current room. And then we want to select complete contract package from the folders that we just created. And then select move. Here they are.
So I used to do this back in the day when they had when you were adding documents back to opportunities, it didn't differentiate between signed docs in the forms, and now it shows you just a signed doc. So that tip hasn't been useful for me in a while, but this is another way to kind of bring that back around. Joe, Absolutely. What do you think?
About the
putting Joe on the spot, and he just comes in with the "What are we doing?" I forgot.
Hush now. I'm actually a couple seconds behind because I'm watching the live stream.
Oh yeah, that's what it is. Yeah. Naturally,
Yeah.
of course, yeah.
That's what it is.
Live stream on
No,
TikTok
I mean-
is what he's watching.
That's beautiful.
Oh man, I can't help myself. But no, so he's got so he's got the complete. So what he's doing is he's making folders for each folder in the opportunity room and moving his documents over that.
Yeah.
Do you do something
No, I
similar to
love
that?
So I do and I don't. I usually name the file something very specific every time. That way I can use the search feature within command and be able to pull it. I do know a lot of people who create a separate signed folder for anything that's signed. I personally feel that's redundant, right? Because once you sign something, it says signed. So I tend to rely heavily on that piece of it to make it work for me. But it's also because I'm not a very organized person. So the idea of taking those extra steps just doesn't make any sense to me in my head.
Joe's going to have a lot to contribute, Jack, is what we're hearing today.
Oh no, that's beautiful. That's beautiful. But also to Joe's point, there's a redundancy of creating a signed documents folder. Sometimes some people have to make sure that their made sures are made sure. So we get that there may be some people that will create that, but of course, to Joe's point, as it comes back to you, you'll get the signed document, you'll see the DocuSign form icon be the green check mark to let you know these are the signed documents. So I know that I can't combine an unsigned document or a completed document. I can't combine just a blank form. So once it comes back and you combine those forms, then that's usually easier for people just because they see the icon, they know where they're going with it, and then that's what they'll use for compliance.
Now, Jack, can you pull up? This is attached to a room or an opportunity, I'm assuming, right?
I'm sure it is somewhere. I may have created this off of scratch. Yeah.
Gotcha. I was gonna say it'd be good to see how that looks on the command side. If we could do that.
Let's see. All right.
And while he's pulling that up, I gotta apologize to Joe real quick, just to mend the friendship I have with him after being so mean just a moment ago.
I feel like that is payback for randomly putting Chad on the call last week and not telling you.
I'll take that for certain. Okay.
Yep. So
let's just
this one. So I think this is just go do this.
Yeah, we'll just do it here too. So again, he's adding some documents into his room docs folder, and then he's going to actions and add a folder. We're just going to throw those three in there just to get the point across. We got some smart people.
Yep.
All right.
Then we're going to move that over into a folder in the current room. And here we are.
All right.
So now, for those of you who have used .loop in the past, that's actually very similar functionality as far as how you move it. So, yeah.
It's almost exactly the same.
Yeah.
All right.
Yep.
So we're going to go into command.
Yep.
And
so
then
we went through the transaction. And if, of course, nobody has noticed, of course, some of the opportunities view has changed, which I love.
It has.
Files manually from your computer, from DocuSign, your custom folders you created. It's beautiful.
Now that's custom folders in opportunities, right? That's not custom folders.
This is. Oh, yeah. Yeah. So from the drop-down menu, if you were to select custom folders, it would ask you which folder you're pulling from. Right. And a reminder to folks out there that may get confused, custom folders do not get and cannot be submitted for review. Right. Yes. So you do want to get them into this list here. But so DocuSign, let's go ahead and select one for just, I don't know, let's just pick anything random.
And it's probably no options.
It's different now.
No, it'll show the signed documents only that you have available. We didn't send anything off in the envelope.
The nature, that's true. Good point. Good point. Yep. I didn't think about that. I just wasted a lot of Jack's time.
Fun fact, no, you can't actually pull over unsigned documents. You just have to use the little meatball menu up at the top there. You go up to next to where it says DocuSign. If you click on the meatball menu.
Wait, hold on.
Right here?
No, back.
Oh,
Oh, you call the 3 dots. The 3 dots.
The meatball menu.
The meatball menu.
Excuse me. That is an approved KWRI language. Is the meatball menu? How have you not heard that?
I don't know how. I've somehow managed.
I don't know, Joe. You have the upper hand on that one.
The ellipses, if that makes more sense.
The ellipses does. This is well-known tech verbiage. Abby Lacey has got Joe's back, so we're gonna default. Awesome. If Abby Lacey approves of it, it's real. Okay, that's all. Yeah.
Abby approved. So so we have the menu out, and then it's the option that says include DocuSign form.
Is it? Yeah.
Joe's teaching the class today. He's got it. Right, sure enough, there it goes. Yeah, how about that?
Meatball
menu. If you scroll to the top, it says complete contract package. So what we'd be seeing here is that there's multiple folders that had documents in them. We'd see them separated out by that little identifier there. Yeah. Perfect. Jack, it's a solid tip. I love it.
That's awesome. Yes.
Yeah. Keep it organized.
And there it is.
Good deal. And I apologize for continuously interrupting you.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Literally, this is where everything is a segue. So this is perfect.
Perfect. So what's next? What's next for us?
All right. So another thing to also keep in mind within DocuSign, another thing besides the folders, we talked about a little bit about the templates briefly. Mm-hmm. So remember, details, just reiterating again, details is your best friend when it comes to automation and leverage when you're adding information that change from transaction to transaction. Mm-hmm. And then if you go to My Docs, this is where you will actually create your form templates for everything that will not change from transaction to transaction. Mm-hmm. Of course, like your brokerage information, your information, and anything that is set in stone or any numbers that are set in stone.
The way I know what you're talking. The way I like to phrase that is details is good for autofill, and this is good for pre-fill. Things that are
autofill and pre-fill. I'll use that too. I'm getting great nuggets today. This is awesome.
We've all grown.
Awesome.
Let's make a template.
Yep. So you say create form template. I'm going to say DocuSign form group. Just go to a different one. I'm just going to use sales contract form set. May not have.
You guys have a lot of groups. My goodness.
Yeah, I was going to say I noticed that. That's unbelievable.
Yes. So because we're this is like we're in Upper Marlboro, Maryland, so it's covering literally 3 areas: the DMV, so DC templates, Maryland templates, and Virginia templates.
I'm noticing different counties too. This is so off track, and I'm sorry, but like in Maryland, I'm just because I'm learning here too. So in Maryland, is it like different forms for every county?
Different, yeah. So there are very similar forms, especially like with a lot of Maryland forms that will that are applicable and count for each county, but then each county has its own, like maybe addendum here or something there because it has its own. Yeah, has its own.
I didn't know that. That's cool. Awesome. So anyway, back to Jack's point, because I'm just terrible about this today. Picking our form that we're gonna fill out.
This is probably my favorite new update to DocuSign, to be honest, is this pre-filled forms.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Same here.
Yeah. Anytime you think about, and we tell our agents, instead of, it being tech and being scared of that, it's like, no, this is leverage. Repeat after me. This is leverage. So I love this. Definitely love this. So, this is just an example form of everything that would change. So I'm just going to come down here. So the only thing that we can fill in, because I am currently not licensed, so there's some forms that I do have access to. So this is one of them. So for example, here, this is going to always change in the DNA. However, for this example that we're going through today, we're just going to add information that will not change, the more of like the pre-fill. So I'm just going to put a property address. I'm going to put our market center address so that we can just understand the functionality of it. Suite 1020, and we are located in Upper Marlboro, Maryland. Right. So now I have entered in all the information that will be pre-filled for each form that we use for every transaction. So I'm going to say save and close. And then now we see here when we go to My Docs and then form templates, we have our template name, form name, and when it was updated. And of course, you can always go back when you edit the form to come here to the top left and change this particular name.
Gotcha. And guys, in the comments, be on the lookout. I'm about to put the links because what Jack's describing, there are answers.kw.com articles for this as well. So for some step-by-step, if we're, us being crazy here on the show, if you're having trouble following along, as I'm having trouble speaking, this answers.kw.com article that we're going to put in the comments here is going to also be a good resource for you to help you out with this.
Awesome. Appreciate that, Evan.
Yeah, of course.
All right. So now we're going to go back into our room, and then we're going to add this specific listing. So let me go back and go to the one that we pulled up.
And just a reminder to everybody out there, if you don't know how to navigate to your room this way, go back to command, go to the opportunity, jump in it that way, right? Don't if you can't find it here, you always have that option.
Yep. So I'm going to X out of my DocuSign, as Joe was saying. Now I'm just going to say go to transactions since we're in the details area of that listing. Yep. And here we are back here.
And now, just again, for everybody who likes to, instead of clicking on links, if you want to write it down, I'm going to put the link that Evan put right here in the on screen. You can copy that.
So just type that out, letter by letter.
and here's actually the other one. It's a little shorter, so it might be easier. You could look that up as well.
Yeah, good deal. All right, Jack, show us how it's done.
All right. So now I'm going to add that same form to my room that I was just using. So I'm going to say form group so I know where I'm going. And then I'm going to go back to the Prince George's County sales contract. And then now that same particular form that we were just using, now you notice if you have a pre-filled template to use for a specific form in DocuSign, as you're selecting it and adding it to your room, now you see the box pops up that says none. That just signifies, hey, I do have a pre-filled form.
So you're saying if I select a document, I don't see that drop-down box, that means I don't have a template for that particular document. I need to go make one if I want to use that, right? Yeah.
And what are some examples of the type of information you might want to fill out in one of those forms, right? So I know which ones I do, but I'd like to hear what some of your thoughts on information you might put in that is going to be the same every single time.
Oh, absolutely. Of course, it's going to be your name, your brokerage address, what else? Your name, the brokerage address, any information that does not change. Maybe if the brokerage address is if you have your own independent address, depending on if you're indie broker or however you run your business. What's another example? I'm having a brain fart now.
I got some Tennessee examples, and because I think it might be different depending on where you are. Because in Tennessee, like the brokerage address and the name, like DocuSign form is pretty well set to kind of just put those in there. Whereas in Maryland, it may not be the case. Or in Tennessee, some of the things that we do. So like for our buyer representation agreement, it asks like, hey, what places is the buyer agent under agent duties going to search, for properties, right? So they have that list of where, and a lot of people just put in the MLS, right? So that's something that they're going to type in every single time. It's not in detail, so it's never going to autofill, right? And so that's one of them. We have special stipulations, so things like if you charge an admin fee, right, for your closing, because you're paying your contract to close person, passing that charge on to your buyer or seller, you put in the special stipulations, a $150 fee to be collected at the time of closing that I don't want to forget about, because I forget about it, it's not going to be on the closing statement, and I'm forking that money over, right? Things like that. Tennessee also has this ridiculously long amount of information. that you have to type in every time. It's all the different brokerage information, like address, like license number, who the broker is, all that good stuff.
Yeah.
All those things. Yeah, we put all that in the pre-filled ones for sure. So those are all good examples. And Jack's too, depending on the state that you're in, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So like brokerage information, the broker license number, just like
I was gonna say that license numbers are huge, because if you don't want to have to remember that information, especially a lot of us need to put our own license in there and don't know that, right? So put that in the form if you need it. I want to circle back, Evan. I'm going to put the standard disclaimer, because I know in Connecticut, if you wrote the MLS in search area, that would not hold up in court, and they would throw that contract right out.
None of us are lawyers. This is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. Please do not trade securities based on what the information that you hear in the show.
So we can only put actual towns in there. Like, even if you put the county in there, it might get thrown out, because a buyer moving from outside the area might not know what that county is defined as, right? So talk to your broker about things like that. As far as what you should and shouldn't be putting in those fields, and if appropriate, put that in there and use it as a pre-filled. So what I might do, I work the same 7 towns a lot. So I may have my buyer agency agreement pre-fill those towns, and then it's easier for me just to remove 3 of them than it is to type all of them in, right? So that might be another way to do exactly what you said.
Yeah, and to hit home more on the have a conversation with your broker ASAP, especially knowing the things that will not change from transaction to transaction that you are allowed to add to your documents. Of course, as we're talking about it, we're only talking about the technical side of everything. Talk to your broker for the structural.
And any specific contract language, contract language of any variety, I don't care what state you're in, talk to your principal broker. Now, if you want to highlight that comment I made, just to
any trainer, Evan wants me to highlight this this disclaimer.
Due to the nature of the content, please remember that any specific contract language should be approved by your broker in your office. The show does not contain any principal brokers and not intended to be contract or legal advice.
That was perfect.
Cool.
Thank you. We can move along now.
But for any MCTT or broker or OP who might be watching this, that's a class, right? What are some pre-fills that your agents can be using and coach them through that? Maybe it's, for me on our offers, oftentimes, now less so in this market because you'll never get the offer accepted, but you would have language that says property must appraise or, whatever. If you have language like that that's broker approved, talk to your broker, put that as a potential pre-fill, and then work it into those forms somehow. So.
Absolutely. Now I know what I'm taking back to my contracts department. I love it. So
is this the comment you were referring to, Evan?
No. Oh, don't. Yeah, let's not go on that. Jack.
Got you. So as we're taking a look here, as we were just closing that conversation out, as I clicked on the actual form, now you can see the same information because we pulled in the document with the pre-filled template, and now we see here the pre-filled information, the property address. Of course, anytime you're using DocuSign forms and there are pre-fillable boxes here that you can type in, then again, that's what will populate. Also, you see my name came up. So now you see I was added as the seller in this particular example. So now it's coincided with the details of the autofill feature inside of details, move my name over into this particular DNA. And then as we were pulling the pre-filled template over, it also populated here. Now, another thing to also remember is if you're using or have any information inside of details that coincides or will usually autofill into these boxes here, if you use the pre-filled template, that template will take precedence.
Good deal.
All right, save and close, and then we're out.
Yeah, that was an important point for those that need to hear that. So pre-fill will overwrite what is an autofill.
Yeah.
When you hit save and close, it will go back and update that detail too and change it everywhere else. So you don't really want to use pre-fill in situations where autofill would handle it. Pre-fill is good for those situations where autofill doesn't or can't reasonably work. Joe, you had something.
Yeah, I was just going to say, if you go in and fill out one of those pre-fill forms and fill out all your buyer information, it's going to overwrite that. So if you use it in a different DocuSign room, it's going to overwrite that. It's going to mess you up. So definitely be mindful of the information you're putting in there. Well said.
Correct.
I'm just going to say what you said in a different way because that's apparently my only value today.
That's what I do for most shows. So
that's pretty, you know, like one of those moments where they hear it and they're like, okay, and then they look over and they translate. Oh yeah, you'll be fine. Just make sure you have the right signal. Oh, okay, yeah. No, I love it. I love it. Last thing I just want to bring up to wrap up of just some nice best practices within DocuSign. Just always to just remember to, and I know this is just step one because of course everything that we just did will not matter unless you validate your NRDS number. So just to remind everyone, if you're a new agent and you're joining us today, welcome. To get to your preferences area, remember you always want to be inside of DocuSign rooms. We don't talk about logging in through DocuSign and having to go through e-signatures and then rooms, because of course best practice, if you ever lose your spot or your space or where you are in DocuSign, just as to Joe's point, you want to best practice come back into command and then go through the go to transaction button to get back to DocuSign rooms and that specific room.
Yeah, so I just look at sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt the delay here, but I always say, like, why learn two systems when you can learn one, right? And if you know we have to learn command anyway, so if that's how we navigate to the room, then that's how we do it. We don't need to learn that. Now, there are places in DocuSign, absolutely, we should know how to navigate for different reasons. I just don't think that's one of them.
Especially if that's not your primary function.
Yeah. I mean, I look at DocuSign as a very powerful signature engine. I don't even use it all the time. Like filling out forms, obviously, like you're doing great. Sometimes I just fill out the forms and then just use it for signatures, right? I fill them out elsewhere. So, you know, again, not saying you should or shouldn't do that. It's just an option. And then because I use everything in command. So DocuSign is just my signature.
Not only that, but if you're using opportunities, you don't have to fill out as much in details because it's going to take care of a lot of that for you.
Exactly.
It's just going to put in like a lot of things that Jack's talking about with this is like the address, the client names, all who you are and your brokerage information. All that will come from the opportunity if you set it up doing it that way. Yep. The details.
Here's a little thing just watch out to trip over. If you are printing out your forms like to fill out signature wise, it actually grabs the estimated closing price and puts that in your contracts, or at least in ours. So I had agents trying to do that, and it would be like 180,000. He's like, well, that's not what they wanted to offer. Well, it pulled it from the estimated purchase price or whatever. And so, you know, just watch out for little landmines from that. Now, when you hit the sync transaction button, it will tell you what syncs over. So just be mindful that then if that's a field in the details page, you may have to go and change that.
Good deal.
I think you have to hit refresh to show those icons, I think.
Yeah, and as Jack's doing this and getting closer to wrapping up, guys, if you have any questions about any of the big tips that Jack has been spreading today, please go ahead and throw them in the comments so we can address those now. And I know there's a delay when it goes to Facebook. So, Jack, if you had a little bit more you want to share with us, now is a good time, my friend.
Yeah. Just to reiterate, the last thing was just to reiterate where you will go into your preferences. Preferences is like your options where you update your profile information, your contact information, integrations. If you want to integrate your zip forms, if you want to synchronize things that way, say if you fill out everything in zip forms and you just use DocuSign as your signature manager, basically you can connect your zip forms here. You can also add your forms provider this way by validating your number, your last name, and association wherever you're located, as well as the other integrations if you utilize it like Google Drive, Dropbox, and so on and so forth. And another thing I want to bring up here, we see now the sync buttons have updated here inside of. We're back in command. We're in the details area. And to Joe's point, after we selected sync transaction, now you see the sync bubbles and what has gone over.
Nice. Good deal. I'm not seeing any questions come in yet, but Jack, tell us real quick if there's any one thing that anyone should take away from this class that you'd want them to take away with them. What would it be?
The biggest thing is to leverage command at a higher level, as we are doing here. My biggest keyword is leverage. All right. So you want to always make sure that you have your DocuSign account connected to your command, and then always remember to start from the opportunity, then go through documents to go to your transaction. This way is just ease of access. It saves you about 15-20 minutes of your contract and compliance document submission process by doing so, because then, as you can see here, they have built out an amazing tool for us to just smoothly upload our documents and move on to the next transaction.
Absolutely. Joe, what about you? What was your biggest aha from the day?
I think my biggest aha is that I really have a lot more I can do for organizing myself. There's a lot of functionality in here that you can do that just makes your life easier, but it takes a little upfront work. And as long as you're willing to do that upfront work, you're going to save time on the back end. And that's my aha.
Right on. And I'll say for myself, my favorite one was the folders, using the folders in DocuSign. I haven't been using them as much since the signed documents. Well, actually, what Joe brought up too with the including forms. Since they kind of separated that out, I haven't really been using folders very much. So that's a good way to kind of get back into adding some organization into my own life, because I'm an absolute mess, as we all know. With all that being said, Jack, is there anything else that we want to get to today?
That's pretty much it. We just wanted to just spend a little bit of everyone's time just kind of going over the best practices of things that we did not know about, things we knew about, just needed to refresh our mind. And thank you, Joe, for the meatball menu. Thank you for that tidbit. I'm going to use that forever. It's Abby approved. And just continue to utilize our technology at a higher level. And remember, iron sharpens iron.
Right on.
I love that.
Awesome. Jack, thank you so much again for coming on today. Next week, we got Zach Younger coming on to the show. And after that, we got Karen. Zach Younger will be on.
I should have left my Tesla comment for when Zach was joining us. What topic is Zach going to be doing with us?
Zach's going to be doing 5 command hacks.
Ooh.
5 command hacks. So 5 of the top tips from Zach Younger himself. And then we've got Karen Nozel again near at the end of the month. We had her on. It's been a while since we've had her on. So I'm excited to have a return guest, return host. With that being said, Jack, again, thank you so much. Joe, thank you so much. That's going to wrap it up for this week's Labs Advisors Live. And we'll see you guys on the flip side next week.
Peace out.